Just like the way we have the army, you have different categories of these armies. You have the land forces, we have the air forces. Depending on the nature of the enemy or the nature of the attack, the commander-in-chief can deploy either the land forces or the air forces. So in this case, innate immunity is the first level of defense. These are the ones you can call the foot soldiers. So the innate immunity is actually always present in all organisms or animals from birth. And usually the response is generic. This is to say that the responses are not very specific to particular pathogen. As long as we detect that there is a pathogen, innate immunity is always there to deal with that. If this is not actually handled, then that is when another line of defense is actually activated, as we shall see later. Okay? So we often call innate immunity as non-specific defense mechanism. We will see that we have very many mechanisms, quite a number of mechanisms in innate immunity. So the emphasis is that it is not very specific, and therefore it deals with all nature of pathogens that invade. It is always present from birth, and it can deal with a number of these pathogens. So the first line of defense, here we have our skin. This skin is tough. It cannot allow entry of pathogens. So it acts as a physical barrier, what we are calling the impermeable barrier here. But also the skin creates secretions, oil, sweat. All these create an acidic environment that does not allow the microbes basically to survive. Okay, so that's the first line of defense. There are some parts of our bodies that do not have the same tough skin as this, and instead what we have are what we call mucous membranes. So in your nostrils, in your mouth, you have what you call mucous membranes. These mucous membranes are lined with mucus, and this mucus is very important in trapping any microbes that tries to get entry. Okay, and then we also have the tears, so secretions such as the tears, saliva, and gastric juices. These also still play an important role in defense. When something gets into your eye, one of the things that will happen is that tears will start to flow. It's a response to make sure that this thing is actually removed, the foreign body that is there. These tears, just like the saliva, contain mucus that contain lysozyme, which can actually break down the bacterial wall, therefore basically killing the bacteria. The gastric juice in the stomach is actually acidic, and this is effective in killing any pathogens that might have been ingested with food. So that's the first line. The three things that we have talked about in the first line are the skin, the mucous membranes, and then the secretions. Now moving to the second line, still under non-specific defense mechanisms, you have some cells coming in here. Still, the emphasis is that these cells do not differentiate between the specific pathogens. They attack any pathogen that comes. So we have phagocytic cells carrying out phagocytosis, basically engulfing the pathogen and then destroying the pathogen. Okay, by releasing enzymes, lysosomal enzymes that basically destroy the pathogen. So the examples of phagocytic cells include monocytes and neutrophils. We can call them macrophages. So if someone says macrophages are phagocytic, don't be surprised. Okay, we have what we call natural killer cells. These ones attack the cells that have been infected by viruses or cells that are not normal. Okay, even in a country, you can have citizens collaborating with rebels. If the army identifies that you collaborate with rebels, enemies of the state, then they will take you to prison. You'll be arrested. It's the same thing that happens, that you see the natural killer cells identify which cells are harboring the pathogen, or which cells are actually abnormal. They are not carrying out their functions properly, so they get killed. Those are natural killer cells. Okay, so they release what we call perforins that help in breaking down the cell membrane through a process that we call lysis. And then you have some proteins that are also very defensive. For example, the interferons and the complement proteins. These cause, for example, the complement proteins, of course, there are very many, and it is not in our scope to look at them now, but they cause pathogen lysis. The interferons are very important in preventing viral replication. Another way is the inflammation. When the pathogen enters the body reacts. It sets into action a series of reactions to neutralize the pathogen. Just like the army, when there is a person of interest who has entered the country, and that person is actually dangerous, an enemy of the state, communication is made to the different command centers about the presence of this enemy. And a command is sent on what to do in case anyone comes across this enemy. So this is what basically happens with inflammation. That you have a series of events that are triggered because of presence of the pathogen in the body. So eventually, all these events will result into containing the pathogen. So there is mobilization of cells, phagocytes. That's one. There is increase in terms of permeability to make sure that what is required, they can easily go to that area. Okay, that there is increased flow of blood to that area because of vasodilation. And consequently, there will be swelling. Okay, there will be redness, there will be pain, and there will be warmth in that area. So inflammation basically helps to basically tell the body that, you see, there is a problem here and we are trying to address the problem. Okay, so that means that inflammation can help in resolving the problem. Okay, but still, it is also possible that even after all these inflammatory responses, the infection actually proceeds to cause more havoc. Okay, and that is when, perhaps that's when you go to the doctor and you